Purpose, passion, potential. This podcast is dedicated to men, but I believe more than men can get out of this podcast. Purpose, passion, and potential. Today I want to deal with purpose. What do you mean by purpose? I mean like your why. Why are you doing it? Why you was created? But I want to intertwine purpose with pleasure. There's a difference between purpose and pleasure. What happens when you don't know the balance between purpose and pleasure? Vocation, vacation, time to relax, time to go to work. That's what I want to deal with today. Purpose and pleasure. That define what purpose is. Purpose is the why. Uh, it's the pursuit. It could be your religious belief. It's why you was created. What are you sent here on earth to do? That's what purpose is. What is pleasure? Pleasure, what best I can define, and it's immediate gratification. You don't want to wait for it. You want it now. It's okay to have pleasure. But do you really need to have pleasure now? So pleasure can be coincides with having immediate gratification. You can have gratification. It don't mean it have to be right now. It don't have to be immediate gratification. Oftentimes, the best gratification can be delayed gratification. And oftentimes, we don't like it because we want to have it now. There's importance of both. Purpose provides and directs, and it gives us the motivation to do what we need to do. Even if we don't really have the motivation, but since we know it's connected with our purpose, sometimes we'll find that we'll do it anyway. That's what purpose is. It gives us a sense of fulfillment. You know, we all hear the colloquial expression that all money ain't good money. That's true. Just because you make money don't really mean it's attached to your purpose. So it feels like you'd rather make less. In that sense, less can actually be more. The purpose provides you direction, motivation. Purpose, I would say, focus you to the point where if it don't align with your purpose, although it may sound good, I don't want to do it. You got to know what to say no to. If it don't really connect to your purpose and it gets you distracted, it's okay to say no. Let's go with pleasure. Pleasures, you need pleasure. You can't be in work mode all the time. You got to have pleasure, but you got to keep pleasure in its proper perspective, and you got to keep it in its priority. When you always seek to have pleasure when things don't go your way because you're so used to being pleased, you don't know how to deal with the nuances of life. You got to have pleasure. Gonna make you relax. You got to have pleasure. You got to go on a vacation. True story. My wife, had this, I guess, dream or vision, whatever you call it. And we were both in work mode and we need a break. But she was explaining to me how she was like about to pass out. And I just kept going, kept working. It clicked. We need a vacation. We need to chill. Just because you can keep going don't mean that you should. And most men or women, they try to take a break when it's too late. You don't want to break before you break down. You got to know the balance. If you don't know when you need a break, maybe you need to listen to someone else to tell you that you need to take a break. You need to chill. You can't always be in work mode. Vacation is equally important, but you can't always be in vacate mode because you got to go back to vocation. You got to go back to the things that help you pay the bills. You don't want to be like, hey, however I'm gonna figure it out is how I'm gonna figure it out when I come back from my vacation. That's not a peaceful vacation to me. I want things to be taken care of before I go on a vacation, at least to an extent that when I get back, I can be okay. I'm reminded of King Solomon. Had a purpose-filled life. Some of it, most of it, whatever you say, but he was the wisest man in the Bible. At a point in time, especially during those years he was reigning in a more positive light, he asked God for discernment. He had a dream, had a vision, had a dream, and he asked God, help me have better discernment so I can know the difference between right and wrong, so I can know how to govern your people. That's what his request was. His request wasn't money. His request wasn't fame. His request Wasn't any other thing but besides that. And because he made the right requests and requests for wisdom, God granted him fame, money, and pretty much everything he could ever imagine. All because he wanted discernment. So oftentimes when you have a request, you got to make sure you're requesting the right thing. Wisdom is the principal thing. That's what it is. Wisdom, the principal thing. Without wisdom, money will go. Without wisdom, fame will go. Without wisdom, family will go. It's okay to acquire and to get things, but to get things without the proper wisdom, you're going to lose it. We know with Solomon, early in his reign, it was wise. One incident that made him famous was a dispute between two women. And one of them was saying that, this is my child. And I'm like, no, your child died in his sleep. So the lady snuck this other lady child, like, this is my child. Like, well, she was like, well, kill the child. Like, well, you're not the mama, because the real mama would be like, hey, don't kill the child. Give the child to the other lady. So he discerned that this is the mother's child. And because of that, his fame began to grow because of wisdom. Wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom is going to help us keep what we get. Wisdom is going to help us increase what God put in our hands. But Solomon also had a thing for pleasure. We all know the story of Solomon. I still think he was a wise man. He had so many concubines and women, but listen, he only had one child. That's some wisdom some type of way. How you got over 500, 600, 700 wives and concubines, and you got one child? He was a wise man. Y'all forgive me, I laugh at myself. If his pull-out game was strong, or he knew some kind of drugs or something to make it. He knew something. Come on now. But anyway, pleasurable. Had a lot of wives and concubines, and some of them, they let him out of the will of God. If pleasure leads you out of the will of God, it shouldn't get that good. If pleasure leads you out of your purpose, and it totally distract and destroy and delay, I'm not gonna say delay, just totally just obliterate, sabotage your purpose, that's a pleasure you don't need. Although you want it, that's a pleasure you gotta say no to. Sometimes it's not about, you don't want to do it, but if you do it, what's it gonna cost you? So that's the difference between purpose and pleasure. I'm so focused on my purpose that my pleasure is gonna cost me so much pain and chaos. It's gonna take me away from my purpose, and you'll lose your influence. You'll lose your voice. You'll lose trust. You'll lose friends. You'll lose family. You'll probably even feel like you lost God, but you won't lose him, but you'll feel like it because you lost all those other things that was attached to you that might be attached to him. And everybody might turn their back on you, and maybe rightfully so. But thank God if you've been in a situation that he's still on your side. Purpose, passion, potential, purpose, pleasure. You got to know how to put pleasure in its proper perspective. You can't be pleased all the time. You can't be a selfish individual. You think that it always has to go your way. You can't just want a job just because it feel like this job don't align with my purpose, so I'm gonna quit. No, most jobs may not align with your purpose, but it's gonna help you keep your lights on. Gonna help you keep your cell phone bill paid. It's gonna help you take care of some things you have to take care of. So your job is like a contract you have with them. It's like your business partner. The way you do that job can determine if they promote you, or the way that you do that job could mean that if you do right by them, maybe when you have your own business, if you aspire to someone to do right by you, so you want to do your job right. You want to connect it with your purpose. The Bible says, sow your seeds in the morning and also do it in the evening time. In other words, you never know which one's going to take off. if the job don't take off the way you want it to take off, you got something else on the side. So it would be wise if you're just totally disconnected from your job and it seems like it's not connected with your purpose whatsoever, to have something to do on the side that can give you a sense of fulfillment. But Solomon had a downfall. We know what his downfall was. Those concubines, those wives. But at the end, Solomon knew those consequences were detrimental. And I'm just quoting it. He was like, listen, pretty much the things that are going to matter the most is what you do for God. But you got to find a balance. I want to give you strategies to find a balance between your purpose and pleasure. You can have both, but you got to be a balance between the two. And it can be hard to have that balance. First of all, you got to identify your purpose. And when you identify your purpose, you got to identify what's not your purpose. First of all, you got to identify what's for you. If you know what's for you, you know what's not for you. First of all, you got to know what to say yes to. If you know what to say yes to, you also know what to say no to. See, purpose restricts you only doing those things that's for you. Because we all make mistakes. We all go after things that's not really connected to our purpose because we're human. We're flawed. We're going to make those mistakes. But purpose restricts you. In other words, it allows you to be hyper-focused that I have to do this to connect with my purpose, so I know what to say no to. And sometimes we're saying no to the wrong things and we're saying yes to the wrong things. We're saying yes to the wrong things. And then we say it like this. And we could be saying no to the thing we should be saying yes to. That should be connected with our purpose. Sometimes you got to journal, take a personality assessment of yourself. You really got to get in the will of God. Let me just say it like that. God created you for a purpose. But God don't want you to be in work mode all the time, because he was he rested himself. He rested on the Sabbath. So you need one day you can rest. Whatever that looks like to you. One day you can relax. One day you can chill. One day you can acquiesce. One day out the week, or one day out the every other week, you got to have some time to relax, to reflect, to recharge, to reboot, to reposition, to realign. You got to have time for that. But also, you got to have time for pleasure. We're talking about this. Yeah, relax and pleasure goes around the same thing I'm saying. You got to schedule it in. I need to take at least 3 to 4 vacations a month. Not a month. That's a lot of pleasure. A year. I think that's sufficient enough. I think I can plan enough. It doesn't have to be far. It doesn't have to cost a lot. Some of these vacations you go on, that don't feel like a vacation. You almost need a vacation from the vacation. But then you got to go back to vocation, and you feel like you need another vacation because it was a bunch of ripping and running all day. It wasn't vacation. So you got to know what's going to recharge you. You might like the big city and lights, but oftentimes when I want to go on a vacation, really don't want to do nothing but just chill and relax. I like to go somewhere in the country, somewhere that I could just listen. Not a lot of people there, maybe a few animals, but hopefully nothing's going to get me. A few restaurants, nice resort. You can just chill, but also sometimes you want to go on vacation with city lights like Vegas or California, whatever floats your boat. But you got to schedule your pleasure in. Why? Because it's going to improve your work performance. If you're an entrepreneur, it's going to improve your work performance being an entrepreneur. Why? Because you can sit back and assess things. Had a week of vacation, I was just sitting back and assessing things. Didn't really do no work. Just sitting back and assessing things. Now, the week started, I'm ready to hit the ground running. Why? Because I didn't have that time to recharge, to reboot. You got to have it. If God rested and said everything he created was good, oftentimes you got to rest. Especially when you have accomplished some things in your life. You got to be like, hold on. What I did is good. So now let's rest, reflect, recharge. But you don't want to stop there. You don't want to stop there. Because if you stop and swallow success versus just tasting success, success can be an enemy to your progress. Yeah. And if it's the enemy to your progress, you get stuck in that pleasure mode that I finally achieved what I wanted to achieve. So I'm stuck in this pleasurable mode. I'm pleased that I have achieved certain things when there might be more for you to achieve. I'm not saying you always got to be unsatisfied. No, you should be content, but content don't really mean I'm just confined. There's another level. There's more. There's more people to help. I'm not saying you always want more and more, but hey, you want to be so content that if your purpose might be redirected, where you might have to repurpose some things, you don't want to kill off that mentality that, you know what, I can't stretch, I can't extend the thing that God put in my hands. I want as much as God want me to have. You got to align your purpose with your pleasure. You can find activities that fulfill both. It's very possible. Find activities that perhaps, it might be involved in helping others. That's part of your purpose. And you might get pleasure out of helping others. That can be a part of your activities. You might enjoy writing, reading, doing a podcast like I'm doing, helping other people. It might be something you have to say. Start small. Don't overhaul your life. Make small changes to incorporate your purpose with your pleasure. Nature walk. Small things. Solomon had a realization. And his realization is that you got to fear God. Keep his commandments. For this man's all, for God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether good or evil. May not be directly written by Solomon himself, but after he experienced with pleasure, wealth, purpose, I can conclude and think that he felt that all that pleasure he was going after, it wasn't worth it. Is it worth it? Make sure it's worth it. And most of the time, it's not if it's just attached to pleasure. Or you're going to tap into your purpose. Or you're going to have a balance between vocation and vacation. Will you only have a life that go after things that please you? Because oftentimes, if you're just going after pleasure, and although it may please you at the end, you got to do something in the middle that might not be pleasurable. When you really want to go after your purpose, some things that you do in the middle might have pleasure, but some things you do will not have pleasure for you. You can't tell me the GOAT, Michael Jordan, LeBron, whoever you call, although it's pleasure for them to play basketball, and we may look at it as just a game. And I heard them both say this is a game, but still, they attach that game with a part of their purpose and help them in other areas of their life. In other areas, I think I heard LeBron James say this, the GOAT, one of them. You can't really say nobody the greatest because all of them are different. I kept basketball the main thing. What I believe he meant by that is like, listen, I'm gifted in other areas of my life. I moved to Hollywood. I can act. I can do the basketball movie like Michael Jordan did it. I got shoes. I got endorsements. I got jerseys. I got clothes. I got everything. He's a walking, playing, slam dunking 40-year-old billionaire. First ever Bill. Someone that's playing the game to probably be a billionaire. May be the last, may not be the last, but it definitely set a trend because he has a lot of power, authority, and influence. But what he said, I kept basketball the main thing. In other words, I kept my mind focused on what's going to open up other doors for me. And we probably just segueing off just a little bit. See, after you got your purpose attached to your life, oftentimes you got to repurpose. What do you mean by repurpose? Repurpose means He used basketball as his main thing, but he repurposed it and wrapped it up in a way where he can make more money for himself, help other people. Basketball was his main thing, but because of basketball, he was able to open up, was it Promise Academy or one of the schools in Ohio and Cleveland. He was able to bless kids, go to college and high school and shoes. Why? Because he kept basketball the main thing. See, most of us, we go after many things instead of one thing. But that one thing can open up other things. In other words, one door can open up other doors. When that one door open up other doors, we can repurpose our purpose, then we can have more pleasure. But you got to focus on the main thing. What's that one thing? I can't answer that for you. God has given you that you can hone in on, that can open other doors for you. Maybe you're overlooking something that you have. Maybe you're a very organized individual. And some people need your gift, but you're looking at people who have gifts in the limelight, and they might be willing to pay you hundreds of thousands of millions. You might have so much clientele, all because you got organization skills, right? That might be a part of your gift, because administration is a gift. I'm just using it as an example. You know how to put somebody's schedule together and organize their life or their portfolio to a point. You know, you might be good on the camera, and you might have some person like me who's making content, but hey, let me help you produce your content to the next level. I'm like, okay, how much you charge? You start out, well, okay, that don't sound bad. Yeah, you can shoot me videos while I'm doing my content. It'll make it better. You got better visuals for me that'll attract more people, you see? And sometimes you're overlooking what you have in your hand that can extend you as a man, as a person, as an individual. Maybe you're the type who know how to merge with everybody, right? So since you know how to merge with everyone, and you know how to kind of go with the flow, you might be a person who has the ability to have supervisor capabilities. You know how to collaborate. You know how to make people work together, where everyone seems like they're contributing to the group process. But see, you overlook those managerial or those supervisor skills because you just thought what other people said about you was negatively. You just a yes man. But no, I'm not a yes man. I'm just good going with the flow. I don't have to be in control of it in order to make it work. We need people like that. You don't always have to be the alpha. You can be the beta. It's okay. You don't got to be the main man. You can be the second man. You don't have to be the head coach. You can be the assistant coach. What's wrong with it? You don't got to be Michael Jordan. You can be Scottie Pippen. They can't do it without each other. You can't do it without other people. So find your purpose, forefront, background, middleman, collaborator, connector. Might be a person who know how to connect the dots, right? You might be that middleman who know how to merge this person with this person. That might be part of your purpose, right? You might be that person, that bridge, and that's like a contract. You didn't know you was a contractor. You didn't do the work, but you brought the service to the person who can do the work, and you got broke off a little something. It might wasn't much, but do it 100 times, right? Connect the person who demand the work to be done with the person who can do the work, and you get a chunk of that. Get 10% off that. Get 15, 20%, whatever you mark it up, whatever they let you do it, right? And do it multiple times over and over again. Now you're the contractor without doing the work, and would actually not really have a demand for the work, but because you connect the person, you connect the dots. It's called wholesaling. So find your purpose. Schedule pleasure. Schedule those pleasurable times for you that don't distract and take you away from the will of God. You really want to know your purpose? You got to get in the face of God. You got to worship him. He'll let you know your purpose. First of all, we all know what's created to do. We all was created to glorify God. So whatever you're doing, God needs to get the glory in it. And when God gets the glory in it, he wants you to relax. He wants you to schedule those pleasures. You shouldn't be fighting between your pleasure and your purpose. How can we make them work together? Man and his purpose. Thank you for tuning in. I also want to ask you, it's a book. I'm going to put the comments on there. Manhood, Money, Marriage. Manhood, Money, Marriage. I look at this book as a silhouette of manhood, money, and marriage. Oftentimes, sometimes we don't have silhouettes. We don't have guides. It's a simple guide. It's an easy read. Only on Amazon for about $20. I think it can be a true blessing to your life. Man up.